Next on the clock is going to be the Raiders at number 12 overall. And the pick for them is going to be wide receiver out of Oklahoma, CeeDee Lamb. Simply put, again, another big need for the Raiders is this receiver position. They really have nobody. They have Hunter Renfrow in the slot, Tyrell Williams on the outside, but they need help. Tyrell Williams is not a number one receiver. So you come in here, you get CeeDee Lamb, a number one outside guy, and you're really hoping that he can almost push Derek Carr to be better. You're hoping that he can kind of force this push down the field ball that we saw from Carr in 2016 that we haven't seen yet. Ever since then, he's just been a check down monster. So bring in this guy, CeeDee Lamb, who you're hoping can stretch the field vertically, and you're hoping that you can get better play out of Carr. And if you can't, then your future quarterback has still really got an excellent wide receiver one to work with. Next up on the clock is the San Francisco 49ers. And here, the pick for them is going to be Javon Kinlaw. Really, this couldn't have worked out any better. You trade away DeForest Buckner for this pick, and then you get a super high upside pass rushing interior defensive lineman. It's basically a one-for-one swap, but you don't have to pay Kinlaw. You get, your cheap interior pass rusher for the next 4 to 5 years. And this is a fantastic move on a team that's going to have to pay a lot of young upcoming talent pretty quickly. So again, fantastic move. You bring in this guy and you keep that defensive line dominant, which is one of the reasons why you got to the Super Bowl in the first place. Now here on the clock, with the number 14th overall pick is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but there's going to be another trade in this spot. The Denver Broncos are going to hop up and one spot to make a move for the 14th overall pick, and they're going to give up pick number 118 to do it. So you're giving up a 4th round pick that the Buccaneers just lost in the Gronk trade to move up one spot. And the reason here is you're scared that other wide receiver needy teams are going to make this move to leapfrog you. There's still one receiver left here on the board who I think is going to be going in this range. And I think that you're scared that the Eagles, Packers are going to try to leapfrog you. So if you're the Broncos, you package a 4th round to move one spot up. And if you're the Buccaneers, you take that. You're basically going to get a free 4th rounder for a player you're not going to take anyways, and you're going to move just one spot down. So I think it is a win-win trade for both sides. And here at 14, the pick is going to be Henry Ruggs, wide receiver out of Alabama. Fantastic receiver. Pair him with Drew Lock. I think you're going to see some really, really good things. Not to mention Cortland Sutton on the other side. Noah Fant in the middle, and all of a sudden defenses are starting to ask, how do you cover all these guys? Ruggs is a fantastic separator. Obviously, we all know the blazing speed, but I think that that's what you want out of a modern receiver is somebody who can separate from defensive backs, and Ruggs does that with his speed. Compared with the cannon arm of Drew Lock, I think that this could pay some really, really good dividends for the Broncos. Now here on the clock, at number 15 overall, trading down, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're going to take Mekhi Becton to play at right tackle out of Louisville. I think that Tom Brady is going to need more help along this offensive line. Tom Brady became really skittish in the pocket last year, so I think at right tackle, you're looking to beef up this line. This dude is probably the rawest tackle among the top 4 in this class. He's not a great run blocker. He can pass block fairly decent. He's really big, and he needs to learn how to play with his hips more and use footwork more. But I think that you're getting a really high upside, absolute mauler tackle who can fill a pretty big need on this roster and help protect Brady. Next at pick number 16, the Atlanta Falcons are going to take Derek Brown, defensive tackle out of Auburn. The Falcons, for the last couple of years, they've been soft on defense. There's just no other way to put it. They like to bring in small, undersized, fast guys, but the issue is they just get blown up in the run game. I mean, these guys can't get off blocks, and when big offensive linemen get to them, they just get ran over. They get mauled. A way to fix this, bring in an absolute behemoth of a man in Derek Brown. This guy's going to come in and be one of the most dominant run stuffers in the league on day one, while still providing a little bit of pass rush as well. He's got some power moves. However, his ceiling as a pass rusher is capped. And if you're drafting him to be a dominant pass rusher, you're really probably going to be disappointed in a couple of years when he doesn't turn out to be that. But I do like the fit here in Atlanta. You got to get beefier along that defensive line. But he's also a pretty good fit with Grady Jarrett, who's a really, really good interior pass rusher. So you pair the dominant run stuff guy with the good pass rusher, and I think that all of a sudden you have a really dominant defensive line that now has some size to it that they were really lacking before. On the clock here at 17 overall is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. And I think that all their needs are pretty much in the secondary after getting rid of Byron Jones. So the pick that here is going to be cornerback at LSU, Christian Fulton. It's going to be the guy that you're going to bring in. I think that most of the corners that they have right now are better slot guys like Jordan Lewis. They don't really have a second outside corner outside of Uze. So you bring in Christian Fulton to be that day one outside corner starter. But also, he's going to give you that cheap contract over the next 4 or 5 years that you are really going to desperately need with this team. This team has a lot of players that they're going to have to be paying coming up after handing out a bunch of monster contracts. And simply put, you just can't keep everybody. So you have to maintain that cornerback position. It's so vital in today's NFL. So keep going to the well and refill it with another cheap corner in Christian Fulton. Now here at number 18 overall, the Miami Dolphins are on the clock again. However, there is going to be another trade. Coming up all the way from pick number 30 overall is going to be the Green Bay Packers. They're giving up their pick number 30 overall and pick number 62 overall, their second round pick, with the Miami Dolphins to try to leapfrog Philadelphia. I think they're worried about Philadelphia here coming up and grabbing the receiver that's still on the board that I think is worth taking in the top 20s, and that is going to be Justin Jefferson out of LSU. This guy projects as a big slot at the next level. I think he's really going to be a fantastic player. But I think that Rodgers really, really needs that. He likes throwing to the open guys who can separate through use of routes and releases. And right now, the Packers just don't have anybody like that on their roster. All their receivers outside of Devontae Adams are just big, tall, slow dudes who can't separate from defenders. Rodgers doesn't want to throw to them, and that's why you saw him so gun-shy at points last season. All he had was Devontae Adams. That was the only separator, and when he's double or triple covered, who else are you going to throw to? Bring in Justin Jefferson, an excellent pairing in the slot with Devontae Adams on the outside, and all of a sudden, I think that you're going to start to see a little bit of old Rodgers back as defenses have trouble containing both of them. Really, really love this pick for the Packers. You're giving up quite a bit to come up and jump the Eagles to do it, but I think it's pretty necessary. Here at number 19, the Las Vegas Raiders, that's weird to say, are back on the clock. And they are going to take AJ Epinesa, the edge rusher out of Iowa. I think the Raiders still need to improve on defense. They don't have that great of pass rushers. Max Crosby came in and did some nice things last season, but really no pairing opposite him. I think Epinesa is a guy that Gruden is just going to fall in love with. Guy has a super high motor, great work ethic, but he can really play anywhere along this defensive line. He's already a great run stopper. He does have some pass rush moves that are really polished right now, but I think that the issue plaguing him is he doesn't necessarily have the upside. He's not that great of an athlete, so you're not projecting necessarily the upside with him, but I think that he's going to come in here, be a really good starter for the Raiders, probably a day one starter, and he's going to contribute in both the pass rush game and stopping the run. Next on the clock is the Jacksonville Jaguars with pick number 20 overall. And they are going to continue to beef up this defense by taking edge rusher out of LSU, K'Lavon Chaisson. Now this guy is a very raw but incredibly high upside pass rusher. Dude is an incredible athlete, and you really, really need him to develop at the next level. He's going to come in and be pretty raw, but I think he's going to be that unique Ngakoue replacement for this team that they need. one way or another, Unique Ngakoue, whether it's traded or sitting out, he's not going to be playing for this team in 2019. So bring him in, get that super high edge rusher who can be your next number one to replace Ngakoue. And I think all of a sudden this defense is kind of starting to turn itself around. Get some more pieces in there, and they'll start looking like the vintage Jaguars defense that we used to know. Next on the clock at number 21 overall is the Philadelphia Eagles. And they are going to take wide receiver out of Baylor, Denzel Mims. Now, I don't necessarily like taking Mims this high, but receiver is such a big need on this team, and he's the one who makes the most sense. I would also think about T. Higgins in this spot, but I think Mims is just a higher upside guy who can release better. He is a big, strong attacker of the football with super, super athletic traits. Ran a very fast 40 at the combine. So I think that Eagles want to bring him in to be that high upside next number one wide receiver. But I really like the Eagles as a landing spot for him because I think that he can sit for a little bit, at least the beginning of the year, with Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, and Nelson Aguilar still on that roster. Now it's a guarantee that at least one of those guys, if not all three of them, are going to get hurt this year, which is going to force Denzel Mims to play. But I think at least for the beginning of the year, for maybe a couple weeks, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey can stay healthy before pushing Denzel Mims into that role, which will give him a little more time to learn and develop before he's pushed into his first NFL start. Next on the clock at number 22 overall is the Minnesota Vikings. And the pick for them is going to be cornerback out of Alabama, Trayvon Diggs. Not a perfect scheme fit here, but he still can play in this zone coverage scheme that Zimmer runs. He ran a cover 3 scheme in college, so maybe a little bit of adjustment. But this cornerback room is pretty depleted. You really have nobody in here, and the cornerbacks play from the corners that they did have last year was very poor. Bring in the corner to come in and play, help at the depleted position. I think Zimmer's really going to like.